Welcome to Fireside Fables. This is where the DMs from the League of Fabled Pursuits go live to talk about our stories, confessions, and tips away from the adrenaline of the gaming table. It's just a chill hangout with a theme, if you will. Before I start the introductions, I will just tell everybody who is on Discord in the chat to send us questions as you go. I will remind you, and we will answer them as we go along. So let's dive in. Today I have an Emiel with me, and let's dive in. First question for both of you is to just give us the briefest little introduction into who you are and what you do.
Brief? You're sure?
Yeah. Quick one. We have 1 hour.
You can start. Okay. I'm Amman. I am a student in Utrecht, and I DM the Titan of Logic.
Great. Welcome.
I cannot do it that short.
I have a timer now.
There's too much going on in my life. My name is Emiel. I do many different things in life. I am a tabletop gaming entrepreneur. I do anything related to games. Sometimes people even give me money to play D&D, which is amazing. I try to make board games. I try to sell board games. And together with some very lovely people, I was allowed to make the League of Fabled Pursuits a real thing, which is amazing. And besides that, one of the most important things, I am a father. I have a beautiful daughter who is 11 months old now, who is the light of my life. She's going to play D&D in like 5 years or so.
Run D&D or be a player?
Probably will.
Amazing. Thank you. I mean, that was pretty brief. You passed.
Especially for me.
Great. I have a few questions today, and we'll feed into it with any chat questions that pop up. My first question is actually to both of you, and I want to hear, because I assume it might be a little different, and I want to hear what made you get behind the DM screen.
You need to start again?
Yeah, for sure.
So first time I did play D&D, not as DM, it was with a group of friends. One of my friends that was not in my friend group came up to me and said, I just played D&D last week and it was amazing. And I said, kind of as a joke, and you didn't invite me? So they went over to someone else in the school, said, hey, can Anna join? And so the next day I was playing D&D, which is quite good. Then I also wanted to play with my friends, but they all never played D&D. So I got behind the DM screen for that.
Take matters into your own hands. And had you done it before the league or?
Yeah, before the league.
Yeah.
Not that much. I think with the league, I have done more than I had before the league started.
Yeah.
But I also run another campaign on the side. So I think most of my DM experience is from there.
Yeah. All right, cool. You might have follow-up questions about that at some point. Right, Emiel.
For me, my D&D adventure started at a mythical place called the Armory Bar, which is probably known to some of you. And I got into D&D there. I was like, oh, what is this? Let me try it. I was hooked. It was like a drug to me. And I was like, I need more of this. I need to do multiple times a week. I luckily had the ability to, so I did. And I played the original first campaign, The Lost Mines of Phandelver, with the beautiful DM Max. Max, shout out if you ever listen to this. Shout out to the Side Quest Bar, the new Army Bar.
Yeah,
which is an amazing place to go to. And after playing a small campaign, some one-shots, I started to get the itch. I was like, I want to know what DMing is about. What is behind the screen over there. And I started just doing some one-shots, and I very soon got hooked and wanted to do campaigns, short campaigns, and it even evolved into wanting to make the league in order to be able to DM more, because everybody knows that planning sucks. Yes, the bane of the existence of any D&D group. So that's how I got behind the screen.
Yeah, great. I try to be generous and answer questions myself as well.
Yeah.
I think my short answer is I got behind the screen because you kept asking. I was gonna do that.
Yes.
Because when the league started, I think I had played D&D 3 times or something like that.
Yeah.
4 times. And I started playing D&D, was it 2023 or 2024? I can't, 2023 maybe, on Halloween. My downstairs neighbor invited me. So
Nice.
And also instantly was just like, this is for me. I just want to play D&D. And then as soon as I tried DMing, I was like, and this is for me. So that you make a world, I get to create a setting where there's never winter, because fuck winter. I am from northern Sweden and I'm done my time. So there's never going to be winter in any of my settings.
Nice.
Sorry, everybody. All right, great.
So then I have a follow-up question.
Okay, okay.
So if you would compare your experience before you went out to the screen and after you went behind the screen, what were your thoughts about DMing?
Well, my thoughts were, I thought I had to do a lot more preparation than I did. But interestingly enough, I started DMing because I nerded out and I read so much. I truly read so much. And quick pause, because I see we have Alessandro in the audience. Can you hear us, Alessandro? Give us a thumbs up or something in the chat. If not, I will solve problems. Thumbs up, he says. Amazing.
It's always a great question.
Welcome.
Can you hear me? Because if people cannot hear the answer, I'm not sure.
I had faith.
Yeah, but if they want to answer, then you have your answer.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Barely.
Or
Barely hear us.
Oh, or they're just not listening. That's also possible.
Then
Do we need to get closer to the microphone?
do we need to do this?
No. Or we move the microphone closer to us. That is also.
Yes.
Turn up the microphone.
I'm turning up the gain. Can you hear more now? Slightly better.
Turn it all the way up.
This is going to be fun for me to edit later.
Yes.
How about now? Thumbs up. Barely. Almost nothing. Slightly better. Better.
Better.
Right. We're in a good place.
Even with an exclamation mark. So
Yes.
a lot better.
Yeah.
Great.
Great. Feel free to ask questions to Anna, Emiel, or me, or just give us anecdotes from various titans, or whatever you want to say when you're in the audience. The floor is yours. Just be nice. There's typing, but as we wait a little bit, I will continue answering the question. I had read a lot about how to prepare games, and I really got interested in the lazy dungeon master, was called, amazing guide to how to prepare it using just 8 steps and minimizing your prep. And I did that for a while, and I was like, this is too much. So now my prep is now it's my own version. But I mean, in terms of rules and knowing everything, I find that players are very helpful in knowing how their stuff is supposed to work.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's how it is for me. Alessandro is contributing by saying, prepare nothing, improv everything.
Yeah.
That sounds like Alessandro.
Yeah. But I'm intrigued because I know I haven't played on your Titan, Anna, but I know you do a lot of puzzles and things to solve with logic. I'm intrigued how you prepare that.
Yeah. So I'm weirdly on both ends of the spectrum of how much time I use to prepare. For other campaigns, I don't need that much time. It can be done within an hour if I really need to be, because world is pretty fleshed out. And then I just put together encounters, put together NPCs, and then I can run the session for the coming 6 hours. For the Titan of Logic, it's not that simple, because I'm both busy with creating puzzles, which I want around 6 of in most in most games. But then also, I think I spent about 3 hours on the map of the dungeon, which spoilers for some people can change. and everything needs to connect properly. There shouldn't be any shortcuts, and that all needs to be checked out to see if it all fits together properly. So it takes a lot more time, but it is still very doable for me. Also because I can reuse the session for new players.
Yeah. What would your advice be for someone who is intimidated by using puzzles and that kind of logic problem solving in their campaign? Because I'm nervous about that.
Yeah.
So and I'd love to hear what you think.
If you don't want to create puzzles yourself, there's a bunch of brain teaser websites just out there that you can look up and see, hey, is there anything that I like here? And you can either directly put a puzzle like that in if it fits, or you change the theme a bit, or you get inspired by a puzzle and think, oh, I can also create a puzzle like this, and then you put that in. I also, for myself, I also create puzzles that take a bit longer because it's one of the main focuses. So if people spend 45 minutes on a puzzle, then that's great. If they spend 10 seconds on a puzzle, then should have been longer. But that's also why I have multiple puzzles, so that it evens out a bit.
Yeah. I have, the question from Alessandro is, how do you create puzzles? I'm trash at it. So I think you answered some of that. Yeah, but anything else in your creating puzzles process that you think would be a good key to unlock for other DMs?
So the usual way I make a floor in my tower is that I just have a random idea of something that I want themed to be, or some mechanic that I want to get. And then based on that, I can think of themes for puzzles, which will then allow me to do something with it. So I recently had a floor 49 is in a very icy cavern. So I wanted to do a puzzle based on light reflection. So I made some rules for how the light should be reflected, and this 7x7 grid came out. You had a few mirrors and one light point, and with those mirrors and that light points, you needed to make the whole grid light up.
Yeah.
Which then needs to be tested, which is harder. For me at least, because to me everything I make makes a lot of sense. That's not always the case for others. So
yeah, I feel like that's always a challenge with preparing anything in D&D, is that I think it's really hard to know, or I still don't know at all, because sometimes I prepare something where I'm just like, oh, I'm so on the nose with these hints I'm dropping about this person or whatever, and people just don't get the thing at all. And then sometimes I'm like, I've hidden it so well and no one's ever going to know it. People are like, it's that best. So yeah, I think that's a bit of a challenge. Do you do puzzles?
I do puzzles, but I have a different philosophy besides creating, because in general, I think, let me translate this correctly. I think it's better to steal well than to make badly. And in this case, I think drawing inspiration or just straight up grabbing something from a book is completely acceptable. People have been running D&D for literally 50 years. They've been writing books about this stuff. There are amazing books that are filled with puzzles and riddles and all of these things. One of the best puzzles I ever did was give people a pencil maze, where you just need to, with a pencil, you need to find the way outside of the maze. And you just give everybody one, and you give them a pencil, and they're happy for 10 minutes. That's great. It's one of the best puzzles ever.
And you can quickly just be like, I need to build this encounter with that they're going to end up now with that I didn't prepare for. So Hal says that testing is what he needs. Any testers available in the chat? I am definitely available for testing. Just send it my way. I do not have a brain that functions well with logic. So I can be a good person to send puzzles to if you need to test something on what I refer to as a little dumb. It's what I call my dog when he's being stupid.
I also love testing things, but
Yeah.
I might not be the correct person if you.
Well, if you combine the two, then
Maybe that's great. Okay, you can send it to us, and then you'll get a good gauge for like the middle person.
Because next to creating puzzles, I also really like solving puzzles. So that was also mainly the reason that I created Titan's Logic. So I was like, this league doesn't have that much puzzles. Let me create them.
Yeah.
But there was recently a game on the Title of Glory where Sahil gave us this text and we couldn't decipher it because we didn't know the language. And there was so much text. It was like, okay, but there's no way that Sahil didn't just use different font for this. So I started reading and said, okay, that letter must be that must be that. So he grabbed it out of my hands before I could finish because he didn't want me to actually solve it.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
So he also says that he will pay for testing with hugs. I'll send a tiki as well.
well, it's not a ticket, then it's a huggy.
Huggy? Digital hugs. We're inventing things here now. That is patent pending. I will hop into a question for you, Emiel. Because we kind of touched on this a little bit, but what do you think is the main thing people get wrong about starting as a GM?
Oh, that is an interesting question because I think I have a pretty strong opinion on that. And I think the main thing is that most people think it's hard, and actually it's not. I think people, they sort of invent all of these things that a DM needs to do because everybody needs to be Matt Mercer and your hair needs to be amazing. And like Anna has that now, but we can't all grow such one hair. And you have to have this prose of storytelling and you have to improvise everything, but also deeply prepare everything. And your NPCs have to have depth and your minis need to be on fleek and everything needs to be good. And that's just not the way D&D works and the way that DMing works as well. I think we can all agree that one of the most magical things is what we create together at the table. And for me, the fact that when we have such an experience, it's unique. And even if I run the same adventure with other people twice, it will never be the same because of the improvisation. And I think doing the DMing is very similar to going to the gym. It's a muscle. And the first time you go, you feel like a wimp. You try to lift a very small weight, but you should be proud of yourself because you did the thing. And then if you keep coming back, it gets easier and easier and you pick up bigger weights and you can also figure out what you like about DMing. Because I think a lot of people approach DMing like it's this one big thing of, oh yeah, I'm going to run the game. But as we were talking about here as well, running the game can be many different things. Anna really enjoys puzzles. I know some people who love a great boss fight. As you come to my Titan, I will probably disappoint you on both of those ends, because you will be doing a lot of role-playing, a lot of stories. I like to throw moral conundrums at you, where you're probably pulling your hair out and thinking like, there's no good solution here, and there isn't. And that is the thing that DMing is as varied as humans are. And it's more about finding your voice and just being comfortable with improvising or preparing a lot, whatever your way is. And yeah, so I think the main thing, people make it too big for themselves. It is just taking a small step, sitting down and shooting some shit with some friends. That's what it is.
Yeah. I think I agree. Do you have any thoughts on that?
I think that sums it up pretty well. I think the first time that I started DMing, I also had that same feeling of, okay, I need to get everything right. I need to prepare the music. I need to know all the rules. But I very quickly found out that no one else knew everything. So anything I made up was fine. And I also have a background in theater, so any improvising went very smoothly for me. It's a bit harder with puzzles, but even then, I can still sometimes improvise things that people then still don't notice that it's improvised, which is great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love the improvisation part of it. I don't think I'm actually a master improviser. I was just thinking about this in a game I ran last week. So I also run a little campaign on the side, and I tested out stealing a bit of sort of downtime random tables from another game system, Shadow Dark. And because I've been listening to this actual play, people play Shadow Dark and they're so good. These are all people who are like improv comedians, of course. Great show. A little shout out to the Glass Cannon Network because they make good stuff. And they've been using this random table to kind of do things between adventures. I'm like, this is great. I'm going to use it. I'm going to try it on my table because we're also, I mean, it's a table where the improvisation really does propel things forward. And then I barely checked the table. I just got it, prepared it. One of the players was willing to experiment with it. And then I rolled on it. And I'm like, there is no information here. And all these people I've been listening to for the past few months are just so good at creating so much out of the little prompt. Which for me, I can happily do when it's about the characters within the role play, like reacting to that easy. But I thought interpreting a random role in that regarding creating more of a role play moment out of it kind of, it took me aback. I think I was also trying to wrap up a little bit at that point.
I think a very good example of how easy improvisation can be and how low the barrier to DMing can be as well is that we had one of my birthday parties. Some of you were actually there. And we tried a type of session that is described in the 2014 DMG. And it's called The Gods Must Be Crazy, which means that at any point during the session, somebody can pick up the DM role and they become the DM. You can just sort of raise your hand and you just take over. So what I did is I just provided some basic materials. I think there was a very loose setting, some planescape type thing. There was a table with some different planes of existence you could go to, some other random tables. And I gave everybody dice and character sheets. And everybody played D&D for 5 hours. And DMs who previously said, oh, no, I can't improvise, it's too much. They ran like an hour plus, if not more, of the session. And that's how easy it can be, because eventually it is similar to having a conversation, but in a more creative fantasy type way.
Alessandro says that's genius. Also an inspirational quote from previously. In reality, the game runs you, which I think is true. But actually, here's a follow-up question, because I totally agree with all this. We play Dungeons and Dragons in the League. What makes that good for this level of improv? I feel like my question isn't really clear, but do you feel like it's good to have the amount of rules and background and flexibility and crunch, as people like to say, to do this level of improvisation?
I think improvisation is always about creating a world and then doing with that world what you want. If you're doing improv also in theater without any rules, with just pure randomness, then you won't get anything good. People have probably seen The Office with Michael Scott going to an improv class, and his only move is to just shoot the first person because he's an FBI agent. And if you don't have rules within which you would do the improv, then it gets harder to do, especially when you have a bunch. I think we have 140 people in the league now. If they are all thinking of their own stuff without any limits, then it's also harder to keep as a whole.
Yeah.
So I think those limits are what makes it easier to make it feel as a whole.
And also, that makes me think of how some of the rules and tools within D&D and classes and so on basically become like the toy you can pick up and do something with within the setting a little bit. I think that's really fun to see with how people even choose to interpret their list of spells or whatever, and then improvise, of course.
Yeah. I think I can sort of argue both ends of the spectrum, because I do think that we don't improvise because of D&D, but more despite D&D, because I think D&D as a system itself is relatively rules heavy, which requires a lot of effort to improvise around and still stick to the rules. And I think comparatively, you're better at improvising if you actually know the rules of D&D. And I think there's plenty of systems where by knowing barely any rules, you can more easily just improvise and actually get into the grid of the storytelling without consulting tables and checking rules and like how did grappling work again and all of those fidgeting things which are unnecessary in collaborative storytelling. So that's one end of the spectrum, and the other end is that I think any game breaks down without adhering to the rules. I also teach at school using games, and they're kids. So what do kids do? They cheat because they want to win. What they don't realize is that as soon as you start breaking the rules, you're starting to break down the game, because the rules are the thing that actually keep the game together. Because the fact that we adhere to these rules allow us to play a paladin or play whatever, and instead of somebody showing up as Iron Man and just blasting everything, because that doesn't work unless that's what we're playing. So we do need the rules, and I think it is a precarious balance to choose how much rules you want and need, and it just depends on what you want.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of the beauty of D&D too, is that there is so much, but you can also you can pick the ones that are really important to you, adapt them a bit. You can maybe play the game without ever looking at some of them. I'm having now for the first time to look at how to allow players to run businesses in D&D. I'm just like, I have absolutely no idea. Sure, we can improvise this during this game, but I'm going to go home and do homework after. Or it becomes more of the thing than at the table. We're just like, well, let's break open the rule books. And together, the storytelling becomes a little bit more almost like storyboarding or, world building. We're just like, okay, well, if this works, then we are going to choose to go this route. And that doesn't have to be a less valid form of improv. I don't know.
Yeah. I think collaborative world building is underrated. I think it's not done very often and very well, even though I think there's a lot of good rules for it. There's some things like strongholds and followers. I think there's some stuff in the 2024 rules as well. I'm also one of those players. I really enjoy it if I'm able to go to a city and set up a trade route and actually come back, and then 2 weeks have passed and your trade route has been making money.
Yeah,
I mean that's satisfying to me, and I think that is also an interesting part of improvisation. If you can use skills that you actually possess in real life, put those to work in the game.
Yeah,
I love trying to do as a player. What's it called when you undervragen?
Question?
When you're questioning like someone, then a prisoner. Interrogate. That's the thing. I love to see how long I can go without the DM asking me to roll anything. Because I haven't watched interrogation interviews, and I do know like some techniques, and it's I think it was on the Titan of Veils that I had a half-hour conversation in the Discord channel, and then in the end, Stefan was like, "Wait, you never rolled for anything, so can you give me a roll?"
Yeah,
which was great.
Yeah. Oh, that's fantastic. I actually really love when the table forgets about dice for a while, or even forgets what the character. No, if you're in character enough that you don't even look at what your AC is or something like that, that's when you get into that flow. Yeah. All right, let's hop into another question. Okay. Well, speaking of rules and so on,
oh no.
which, as a DM, which player class do you think is the hardest to DM? Which one is the hardest to like deal with at the table?
What level? What level are we playing at?
Oh, that's a good question. I honestly I don't know. Yeah, you can pick one, and then that can be the base for your answer.
I think we can do different tiers. I think at higher levels, like 15 plus or probably already 10 plus, wizard is probably the most annoying, or any elaborate spellcaster.
Yeah. The bard now also, because at level 10 they get just every spell list.
Yeah.
Which
And I think at lower levels, probably either very optimized barbarian, because they're unkillable and that's annoying. Very optimized cleric can also be annoying. Twilight clerics. I'm not naming character names, but those people know who they are.
Okay, can I ask a defense? I had created and played one character before that, and when I chose the character, I knew I liked clerics already, and I thought the vibe of Twilight was very cool, and I thought there was one strong ability, which was sharing dark vision.
Yeah.
I didn't think the 10 HP was good, because I had never used 10 HP before in my life.
Yes. So, yeah. Well, you've learned since.
I've learned since. Yes. Now, my cleric is unkillable.
Yeah. And anybody who is within a 50 feet radius of them.
30.
Us too.
So you need to get pushing people away from this cleric.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think my experience running. So I am a person who I am bad at preparing boss fights and generally making battle really difficult. And sometimes I put things together. I'm like, I finally made it difficult. And then monks come in. And they're just like, and I'm going to take out everybody real fast. One and done. And I'm just like, what happened? That's maybe low.
Yeah, no, you can't have just one dude.
Right.
And have them not have immunity to being stunned.
Yeah.
Because then you're just done. You have 3 months and they just stun everyone.
And otherwise, you just give them a taste of the market of their own medicine. Just stun them once in a while.
Yeah.
But you know how it feels.
Yeah. I need to try.
And I think there's an interesting sort of underlying question to this, and because there's the assumption that there are hard classes, but it truly depends on the balance between you as a DM and the player, or what you agree upon, what you like, all of those things. One of the age-old debates is: do you allow flying races at mod levels? There's so many people who say, no, we don't allow those because it breaks the game, and all of those things. And I think almost all of these are balancing issues that you can solve within the story, within the session itself. Flying is great, unless you're indoors where there's only a 10 feet ceiling, or maybe even a 5 feet ceiling.
Yeah.
Good luck there. Or maybe you're on top of a tower, and there's still something called falling damage. And you can utilize so many things to actually turn this against them. And I think a very interesting way of looking at this is by checking out The Monsters Know What They're Doing by Keith Amman. It's It's great stuff. And it makes your monsters intelligent if they are, stupid if they are. But it also allows for your monsters to actively counteract whatever is being thrown at them.
Yeah.
Because if there's a bunch of kobolds and they see your monk taking out 5 of their friends, they probably change their tactics to ambush your monk and to first just run away and actually get the monk to walk into the traps that are down in the lair. Instead of trying to fight them face off.
Stun traps.
For example. Yes.
I was thinking, what was I thinking? Oh, I think Keith Amman his name has a new book too, Making Enemies. I'm just plugging other people's content.
Or just
Yeah,
in general.
it's a book about creating enemies for your game, I believe. I like the name because it's a pun name, and that's always life for me.
Yeah.
I'll correct myself in the show notes if that was not correct when I post this on YouTube. I have a little message from Sohail here. Using player genius as a DM is fantastic. Anna did this in level 50. How did you come up with that idea to rig the glyphs?
Oh.
Should I spoiler alert this? I don't know.
No, this is fine. So my Titan has a tower with a bunch of floors, and floor 50 was a boss fight floor. And I was a fight against 2 level 20 characters. One of them died in round 2 because they were gonna do a bunch of healing, but then they had the players had abilities that allowed them to not heal. Before they had even healed, that was active already by accident, which sucked for me, but was great for them. But I knew that it was gonna be hard to predict players because I had Ballot and a Rainbow. It was Xerxes and Raptor and Balik, which are 4 extremely high-level characters with a bunch of random magic items and a bunch of random abilities that I know I can't predict. So, because I also created those 2 characters by the rules as 2 actual level 20 characters that could exist.
Good.
I was like, oh, but if they create this boss room and they don't want to lose, then why shouldn't they create glyphs of wardings along the walls to give them a little boost, a little home advantage? Because it is their lair, and this is the best way to get lair actions. So the first trigger phrase was time for round 2, which sounded obvious to me. But I am also a little bit evil inside.
Aren't we all?
And I knew there was a very small chance that it was going to happen, that one of the players was going to say time for round 3.
Good.
Because there were multiple triggers for multiple sets of glyphs, but I didn't want them to get the triggers. So I decided, instead of getting beneficial things to trigger and activate on the player pursuing it, time for round 3 meant that you got bad things happening to you. And I thought of this and was like, oh, this is going to be awesome. It's not going to happen. Showed some people who laughed and said, yeah, no, that's not going to happen. But tell me if it does. And then I had Ega on the table, who 1 round after I said it, asked, so what was the exact wording again? Was it is round 2? I said, no, the wording was, it's time for round 2. Because it was a fair question. And other players also helped. So then he looked at me with joy and glimmer in his eye. It's time for round 3.
Damn.
Yeah. It's amazing.
So rigged. Oh my god.
So rigged. But I had it written down, and I had the proof to show that this was premeditated.
Yeah.
And anything that my brain thinks of is something that the creator of the Titan of Logic also thinks of.
Yeah.
So
much. This is really good. I mean, it's kind of in your prep taking on the role of whoever is actually doing this.
Yeah.
Oh, you reminded me. I want to go back when I started creating the Titan of Light, as it was back then. By now, it's Titan of Wonders. But I would actually sometimes write journals from characters' perspectives. So just like, I think this is bullshit, whatever is going on right now, or like, I hate these people, or I love these people, and just getting character. I think that for me was helpful, even like both from a develop challenges kind of side and from a role-playing kind of side. Both. I need to get a little more evil inside, I think.
What you just said about
Being evil.
I have a slight answer to that because the thing that you said about your boss NPCs allowing to make them glyphs of warding, all of those things. I was trying to look up a YouTube video. I will look it up later and I can go into show notes or whatever.
Yeah.
It's this amazing video from a guy who explains how to run a lich, and especially a lich that has been around for like 1,000 years. And he over elaborately explains where his phylactery would be hidden and what kind of traps there would be. And this is unsurvivable for anyone. Because technically that makes sense. Because if you're 1,000-year-old wizard that was so intelligent you were able to turn yourself immortal, probably some random adventures wouldn't be able to get to your lair and get away living. I do also think that it gets into a very interesting territory, which is described in a book, which I know that you've read, Anders, which is The Arbiter of Worlds.
Yeah.
And I think there's an important distinction that we do need to watch as DMs, and that is the difference between us as the storyteller and us as the adversary of the player. And you shouldn't mix those two. Because the adversary is the actual NPC, the monster, or whatever. They know what they know inside of the world, and they are there from a meta perspective to challenge the players. You as a DM, you are not the adversary. You are there to have fun with your friends. And if you mix those two perspectives and you decide that now suddenly your adversary has godlike powers and knows everything there is to know about the world, you are now creating a godlike adversary for your players, which is just not fun to play against.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and suddenly you're playing against your players instead of with your players. And it isn't that black and white, but I think it's something that we need to watch out for. That it's not a contest. It's fine if your level 20 boss just dies in 10 seconds. Yeah. And I think it requires character to just accept that. So that's good.
Saying hi to Waco in the chat as well. We're talking about how to really create challenges for players and thinking ahead, building puzzles, and being evil without actually being evil, I suppose. I think there was I always do this thing. Someone talked about in prepping like fronts or enemies or bad guys to always think about like why they don't have what they already want. Basically, if the lich wants blah blah blah, why do they not have it? And so I think there's always that moment where, for me at least, I'm like, I think there's always, or not always, but often when I build an adversary for the characters, I think of whether or not they're actually that intelligent, or if people have worked against them, or if they're out of money and things like that, to give them a little bit of that disadvantage within the world. Because if they know everything and they have all the money and everyone likes them and they have like charisma, whatever, then it's harder to fight them. Okay. We're doing a quick little reintroduction for people who have joined later. Let's do it. Yeah, mid episode intros. Let's just do a quick one again, and a speed.
Okay.
I'll check.
So I did this quicker. Yeah. Hi, I'm Anna. I study in Utrecht and I'm DM the title of Logic.
Super quick. My name is Emiel. I am a tabletop gaming entrepreneur. I also run the Titan of Mind sporadically. And I'm a father.
And one of the founders of the League of Fabled Pursuits.
Also, but that's unimportant. That's more you than me.
Getting waving emojis here. I'm Anders. Of course, I forget to introduce myself. I run the Titan of Wonders in the League, and that's the only thing I really DM. Might try some other systems soon, we'll see. But
and the amazingly charismatic and handsome host, Fireside Fables.
That is, one of my favorite things to do. Yes, Titan of Logic is an awesome concept. Definitely recommend, even though I haven't tried it. I really want to go play on the Titan of Logic because it sounds, everything I hear, everyone's always impressed, and I need to do something to train my brain. We have 10 minutes left, which means that I'm going to have you both
very quickly.
Yeah.
It goes really fast.
I thought, okay, these are the mid introductions that must be 30, but no.
Yeah, I thought so too, to be honest. This just always flies.
Yeah, an hour isn't that long.
Yeah,
It's short.
that's why D&D sessions are never an hour, never two.
No,
No, it's too short.
Yeah.
I love a 3-hour length one for max, but once it gets longer, for me, my brain starts disintegrating, both as a DM, as a player.
Yeah, I think you're sitting at a table now with players that do like the 12-hour sessions.
Yeah. I am willing to try it, but I definitely need a break at some point.
You think, but you don't. That's
Well-
the thing. You get in the flow, and then before you know, it's like, oh, we should probably order some dinner.
Yeah. I need to find, there's a little comic online somewhere of a little bird that wakes up under snow, and it's just like four squares, and it like it sits up, and it's just like, what did I do last week? And that's the feeling I feel like you get from this. But you both have to roll a D100 and get a random question, because I love a little bit of randomness.
You go first.
This is how people talk about dogs. This is what people say in the chat.
What?
28.
28. Let's see. Oh, where am I? Okay. I will consult the D100 question list. Oh, okay. If you had to DM using only 3 monsters for a whole campaign, which ones would you use?
Oh, it's a very good question.
Okay, so first of all, I have a favorite book for D&D monsters. It's the Tome of Beasts from Kobold Press. It's great. They're all very unique. Have weird little things. I think there has to be at least one like big, strong monster, and if it was that campaign, I kind of want to do a time dragon campaign. So I think an ancient time dragon is going to be one of them.
I have encountered one of those in one of your games, and that was great.
Yes, because with that you can already do quite a bit.
So then you're playing a level 15 plus campaign.
Yes. But also they just need to not get found out, because then they die. And then the other 2 monsters. I'm just gonna list my favorites, I think. I really like the Arytni, which is a little fairy elf archer, which shoots arrows, but they're magically enchanted arrows. And they're supposed to be CR4, and the save against those magic arrows is quite easy to make. It's I think a DC 14, but if you do fail, then you could be asleep for 1d4 minutes, and that in combat is quite nice.
Yeah.
So I think that one, because it does a lot of control. And let me think of a third one while Emiel answers this question.
I also have the answer from Waco in the chat. For me, 3 oozes. Just nothing but oozes.
You have a lot of different types of movies.
I want to mimic.
Oh, a mimic.
Yeah, because there's one very fun thing about mimics that I still not gotten to use. But mimics can turn into any object.
Yeah.
And the moment that a creature dies, like actually dies, they're not a creature anymore, they're an object. So, for the psychological torture,
Yes.
you can see someone die and like get dragged into the next room, and then you see that body lying on an altar, and you rush over, and it's a mimic.
It's good use for them.
Yeah, I love this. This is horrendous.
Yeah.
Okay, so now your next time you are on Fireside Fables, I want to hear a little campaign premise around these 3 monsters in combination.
Okay.
I feel like it's very doable.
This is very good. I really want to answer these questions.
Yeah.
Do we have time?
Okay. Well,
We can stretch it. So I have to go with one of the classics that I really, really love is the Slotty. The lovely frog people. That one of my favorite features of them is that they have a control gem inside of their head. And if you rip that out, they become your slave. And you now have a pet monster, which is amazing. And there's a lot of lore behind it as well, which I think is very well written and has amazing potential for adventure. And they have one of my favorite features. That is, if they hit somebody, you need to make a save. If you fail the save, you are now infected with a tadpole. And if you don't get rid of it, you turn into a slot.
Yes.
Which is great, because it's a instant quest hook. Because now you need to figure out how not to turn into this big frog monster.
Yeah. And they can also shapeshift into anything else.
As well. Yeah. Yes, they're amazing.
Right, so they're a very good choice for a free monster only.
Yeah, I think so. And another favorite is Shadows. Very classic.
I like a shadow.
Strength drain, always a good choice. And third, really quickly, Kobolds, because very versatile, make traps, very cunning, can do interesting stuff, can be almost anything you like.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Amazing. Is a dead body an object? Sounds like classic catalyst for a table argument.
It is.
it's a very philosophical question.
Yeah. I think it's, I mean, for the sake of rules, which we like to follow to do good improv, then it counts as an object.
Which also means that you can teleport with the dead body.
I would say if the soul is already gone, though, like that probably takes a little, like a few seconds at least.
It wouldn't work in the
but like
delicious
but when you're making death saves, you're still a creature. You're not an object yet.
Yeah,
I think that's the time it takes for your soul to leave. Those at least 18 seconds.
Yeah, I would say there's still some time behind that. After you die, it still takes like at least.
Well, that sounds like a hungry boss.
Anyway, even if you don't look like at some point, a dead body will be an object.
Yes.
And a mimic can always turn into a dead body, even if that person is still alive.
That is true.
Yeah.
Yes, I would agree with that. Yeah.
Well, roll the dice, please.
Yes.
Let's
see. Go. Why didn't we roll any dice earlier?
I know.
53.
53.
Yes.
All right.
Not even a 20 roll.
Give me a good one. Yeah, why isn't it? Oh, because you have 100 questions.
It's like on the theme here. Okay. So it doesn't have to. Okay. Which monster are you avoiding running, even though it would fit in your campaign or at your table?
My first initial answer would be none, because I love all monsters equally, because monsters are great. The honest answer is, especially when playing at higher levels, anything that has an overcomplicated stat block. Because an overcomplicated stat block is homework, and now I suddenly have to learn how this thing works, and I'd much rather just improvise how a monster works.
Or I've already put it in the encounter and oops, I forgot to read the stat block and now we're in the battle and I'm learning it as we feature this.
Yeah.
It happens to me.
Yes.
Fairly frequently.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's you can feel it if a monster is well prepared or embedded within the story. And I feel if there's a monster with all of this depth and I don't use it, then it feels very shallow.
So then here's a follow-up comment from Sohail. That's a great call. You can just simplify stat blocks, though, but you don't want to do that? Or are you willing to simplify it?
I would say that some monsters deserve to not be simplified. And I think especially ancient dragons and those types of things, they're complicated for a reason. They have had 1,000 years of experience. So this should be complicated to run, because I think that is a monster like that maybe deserves multiple sessions to slay as well.
Yeah.
And being that complicated, it deserves the prep that multiple sessions also require. So yeah, I would love to run those things. I just bought a very big mini that is definitely going to be used at some point, but it does require more than a session of prep to use.
It has taken the step from a mini to a...
It is. I think it's about 46 centimeters in weight.
It's about this water bottle, I think. Yeah, maybe a bit bigger.
Yeah, it's like the width. Is it?
All right. Yeah. Dang. All right.
It's pre-painted, so that helps.
That's cool. What about you, Anna? Do you have anything you're avoiding running?
I was thinking about it during his answer because I first didn't really have an answer, but I don't like I think I'm avoiding glitches because I don't want to deal with the choosing the spells for them, and for that any monster that has all the spells available to them, because if you, for me, if I'm creating a person that needs that much customization, that much their own spells to be their own person, then I'd much rather just create a player character that is turned into that.
Yeah.
And then I can just use a player character sheet
For the next. Yeah. I'd like to do that. I'm hesitant to create character sheets for enemies because I know that the players at my table like to recruit everyone I but then it's actually good to already have a character sheet.
I would have a counter to that, and that is the fact that the balance of monsters versus player characters is very different, especially at higher levels.
Yes.
Because if you open up with a level 20 character, that sounds very cool, but the action economy is not in your favor.
I know.
That's why most things have legendary actions and those type of things. Because if you fight 4 things that have 2 or 3 actions per turn, the players, and you are there with 2 and you only have a few actions, it won't be the same.
Yeah.
And you can get away with everything with monsters. Because even if the rules lawyer tells you that's not in the rules, you say, no, but this is a different monster. And then it works.
I have done my own tinkering. Yeah, I have tinkered with monsters just in my last game too. I think I'm thinking about monsters I'm avoiding running, even though they would fit at my table. Right now, what's interesting is I ran a whole separate sort of mini campaign that in a way served as the setup to my Titan becoming the Titan of Wonders. And I mean, essentially my Titan is the Titan of Dragons because there's a bunch of ancient dragons who basically exist and do things, but they love people. So I'm avoiding running ancient dragons because they are very powerful and I don't want to fight.
We should probably have a sit down at some point.
Yeah.
Let's do a crossover episode.
Yeah. So closing here with Waco, who plays at my table. Our table is very enterprising. We always seem to be doing business. Yeah, I mentioned this in the beginning. I think my players now want to do business, so I have to read Acquisitions Incorporated, I think, to learn how to let players run a business. But we're a little bit over the time. Thank you so much for joining. You will certainly be invited back.
Great.
You've succeeded in your persuasion.
I don't think I've heard him say that to anyone else.
Oh, nice.
That is true. I have.
So only we are allowed to come back.
Only we're allowed to come
So
back.
everyone else can bring me free minis and monster books.
Yes.
And then I'll invite you back.
I'm happy we behaved.
Thank you for joining in the audience, and we'll see you next time.